Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look at low plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to NASCAR, this isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot them my way at BrandonCruzDFS on Twitter. Most importantly, take everything you hear with a grain of salt, and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that is not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. Yes, I have that memorized, and disregard the mess behind me. I knocked 2 rows of those down before I started recording. I don't got time to put them up before I lose light. That actually makes everything look good. So let's get right into this. What are we looking at here, Brandon? Well, look, over the time I've been doing this, I've been having people talk to me left and right in the industry and out, be like, Brandon, you got to make a sheet, man. You got to make a sheet. Well, look, I already use a sheet. I'm not going to compete with it. That is the Race for the Prize sheet. You can see that it's powering my vehicle on iRacing servers. It powers this podcast. It's what I use. I have it loaded up right here on the iPad. Normally I'm looking at it on the screen when I'm making this, but we're looking at my little rinky-dink little sheet here. But anyway, go to racewithprize.com to get the fantasy NASCAR spreadsheet that I use and that you need to be using as well. $20 for the month of October. That's 11 races. It is by far the best sheet out there, and I'm not just saying that because I'm promoting it. I promote it because I believe that it is the best bang for your buck. It has an optimizer in there. It has a lineup generator in there. It has all the data you need to look at who to play, whether it's Talladega this week, whether it's a playoff race later in the season, whether you're too busy making NFL lineups to worry about NASCAR. Go to racefortheprize.com to get the sheet that I use and you need to be using as well. What are we looking at on here on the screen? Well, and don't worry, it's still going to be the same show. I just made this so people can actually see something. Apparently people do better when they have a sheet and when they show stuff on YouTube. I'm really gonna experiment before 2021 to see if that's the case here for me. As I said, go to Race for the Prize to get the go to racefortheprize.com to get the fantasy NASCAR spreadsheet that I use. And because of that, I'm not going to make a sheet that competes with that. There's no reason to. That's already out there. One thing I want to do with my sheet per se, and this is not available to the public. I'm making this purely for the video, so it's something you can look at on the video. I have notes on the side that we'll go over. And normally this is pretty much what I write on my notepad anyway. But I wanted to see if it does anything in a video form or anything like that. Obviously, you see the grid here. You see the drivers, my ranking, which is my own personal ranking from my head. I mean, you watch me to see what I think, not what's already out there. I mean, some people have something like, oh, this is our ranking. It takes the driver rating plus the average amount of top 10s they have plus the average amount of top 5s they have and the amount of fast laps they have, and I have that calculated into a formula and blah blah blah. That's it. No, look, my ranking is how I view these people. I have it in a grade format, so A, B, C, D, and F. I mean, that's pretty clear as day. I have my chalk, which is who I think at least gains ownership per se. I don't believe that it's that I'm the best at predicting chalk, but I can at least tell you who's getting interest here and there. My interest, and I have a lot more interest in this, but a lot of people, these are normally questions people ask me either over PMs or on Discord or on Twitter. So I figured I'd highlight some of the people that I know people are going to ask me for. My projected finish is where I think people are going to finish, and then ceiling is obviously what their ceiling is. I mean, we're at Talladega. That's why I use this weekend to see how this experiment kind of goes, to see how you guys like it. So if you like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. I want to know what you guys want. And then the DNF factor. I had this as a crash factor, but I suppose DNF is better. This is the amount of, how likely are they to wreck? How likely are they to not finish the race, regarding mechanical failures, regarding, being involved in an accident, whatever the case is. We're at Talladega this weekend, so obviously it's going to be higher across the board. But I wanted to at least bring that in there because once again, I get asked this all the time. And then sponsored, obviously, I'm not going to fill crap in for Sheldon Creed, Austin Hills. I mean, heck, there's been races Brett Moffitt isn't even sponsored and he runs a full race. Everybody knows that these guys are sponsored. I'm focusing on down here to where I get asked the most questions. Is Tim Veens right? Which Tim Veens ain't even on the DK. I don't know if he withdrew. He's on the entry list. I haven't heard anything granted, I made this 12 hours ago, so stuff probably it's changed by now. I'm sure they're talking about it on there, but anyway, I mean, this is how it was last night when I did it at midnight, and I'm recording this at noon on Thursday. So obviously, these are Saturday races. You're gonna want to see who announces sponsorships or post pictures of their car or whatever. It's the same thing here, but this is what I found out so far for you guys. So let's get right into it. Obviously, we're talking about Talladega here. Let me just make sure we're still going. We're talking about Talladega here. As you recall, I made a really, really in-depth video when we were at Daytona earlier this year on this channel regarding how you approach a race, if it's going to be a wreck fest, if it's not going to be a wreck fest, how percentages should go and how they normally don't go, because everybody's afraid to play guys from the back, so you get all these idiots starting in the back with like no ownership at all. So we need to figure out what type of plate race this is going to be. I'm having real problems understanding what the two races are on Saturday, what they're going to look like. Are they going to be wreck fest? Are they not going to be wreck fest? I don't know. So in that regard, do you go with a 2-2-2? Oh man, that's incorrect. Sloppy. So do you go with a 2-2-2? Do you go with a 4-2? Do you go with a 3-3 stack? What do you do? What are you making here? Are you stacking from the back? I mean, all that's up to you, okay? From what I've gathered so far, Robbie Lyons, Spencer Boyd are going to be popular. Corbin Foster, Jordan Anderson seem to be popular people. People are going to build cores around. I'm not saying those are the four guys you're going to put as a core, but those are the people I imagine are going to carry ownership here and there. So let's start at the bottom of the grid, which is what I normally do. I believe you should be clear. I'm not blocking anything. Don't worry. I don't have anything to the bottom. I don't have anything to the right. This is just purely for the video. So let's look at Brian Dessat. He's a grade F, big fat failure. And I don't crap on old dudes racing. I love seeing old guys race. But if you look at how Brian has done, just recently, just look at this year, I mean, he's had issues. Well, let's talk about Atlanta first off. He has one truck. He can't afford to wreck it. He's had problems in every race this year. At Atlanta, they accidentally loaded a super speedway setup onto the car. Like, that's how bad this has been. Every single race, like I went onto Twitter because I wanted to see what the full story about the Atlanta thing was, and so I went on Twitter and looked at Brian Dessat, and I would see incidents. Every race this year, he's been involved in an incident, whether it was a wreck, whether it's making contact with somebody. So I went to YouTube. I was like, okay, let me look through these races. I just want to see how he's doing it. He's running the same truck in every race. But he's had issues. He keeps getting into people. He keeps wrecking. I imagine that he does very poorly in this race, not only because I think he doesn't finish, but I don't think he makes minimum speed. This is a type of truck that I would imagine is just fully off pace. I mean, without practice, which is what we got to deal with next year. So that's a whole different discussion. But without practice, like, we have no idea what pace this truck has. I have no interest in it. He has the New York Fire Department as a sponsor, but it's not really a sponsor. It's just what he does. He supports those guys. And sure, they give him some money, but look, I don't expect this car, I don't expect this motor, I don't expect this driver to do anything. Robbie Lyons, racing for diverse, what is it called again? Where are you at? Of course, I know. Whatever. Diversity Motorsports, something along those lines. It's Jesse Little's team that he sold earlier. Graded out as a B, Looking at the chalk percentage or the chalk entry right here, maybe. I mean, he's $8,000 normally, and I think Robbie Lyons is in a fantastic position here. I mean, this is a good car. He's sponsored by Sunwest Construction, which is his own company, so that's a fully sponsored car, so don't ask me if he's sponsored or not. Robbie Lyons is a solid plate racer. I understand we haven't seen a whole lot of him at these plate races, but as a guy that I don't know him per se. Like, I'm not going to call him and be like, hey, he's my buddy, but I've talked to Robbie Lyons quite a bit over the last few years on iRacing. We raced in a super speedway league for many, many years. But Robbie Lyons, and I would argue for the Xfinity Series, like Anthony Alfredo, would probably have the most experience being familiar in these types of situations. I like Robbie Lyons. Like I said, he knows his plate races. He's starting 38th. He should easily finish 15th, if not a top 10. I don't see him really getting involved in a wreck. I don't imagine that he races incredibly stupid. I mean, Robbie knows how much these cars are. He's Like he knows how rare his opportunities are to race in NASCAR. I don't imagine that he's going to just race stupidly right out of the gate. And then, his wreck factor, obviously, a medium, just because he's starting so far back, he has to go through the field, yada, 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 things of that nature. Norm Benning, F minus. Nobody should play him. I have no interest in him. He should start in park. If you look at his history at plate races, he either DNQs to where he doesn't have the speed to make the race on time, or he runs in the back and survives out of pure stupid luck. Pure stupid luck helps Norm Benning do well. Now, I don't see him even talking about this on any form. I don't imagine he has a sponsorship. I'm pretty sure he has two trucks. So I imagine he doesn't want to tear this truck up. I imagine he starts in parks. And not like right off the bat to where, he pulls off after 13 laps. If you look at his history this year, they've been off pace on pretty much every single truck or every single track this year, and they typically work on it. If you follow Brock Beard at all on Twitter, which I think you should. I mean, one, he makes entertaining content. Two, he really focuses on these underfunded teams in the race and what's going on. He's one of my guys that I look at, see what's going on. But Norm Benning is always, NASCAR's posting. They're posting the 6 car. Not making minimum speed. So he'll go in, train something, go back out. Hey, post the 6 car. He ain't making minimum speed right now, so they'll give him another chance. So this is a situation where I think Norm Benning is forced to start in park just because I don't think this car makes minimum speed. Joe Nemechek in the Nemco Motorsports number 8 car. I believe it's the number 8 car. Let me just check. As you can tell, I mean, this is why I like doing it as a video, so I can just have the sheet up so I'm not giving anything away. But he's in his own Nemco machine number 8. No sponsor confirmed right now, but I assume he's going to have one. It's Joe Nemechek at Talladega. I mean, one, if you have Race for the Prize, if you have that sheet, go look at his history at these plate tracks. I mean, or go to Racing Reference, whatever you want to do to look at Joe Nemechek's finishing positions. I mean, Joe understands how to keep these cars clean. You don't see him involved in a ton of accidents. You don't see him make a lot of stupid moves. He'll ride in the back. He'll survive. Now, whether he does good or bad depends on if this race is a crash fest. But I like Joe Nemechek this week. I don't mind that at all. Cody Rohbal, grading out as a C, looking at his track history. He's bringing cars with speed this year. I think this idiot races and wrecks. That's just me. I flat out think Cody wrecks. So I have him ranked as a 22nd on my projected finish, and I guess I could move that. I could lock that to where it comes down as well. But I have him as a 22nd. I mean, he could finish 5th. If you look at how he's finished at some of these plate races, he's finished very well. But I just don't see it. I think he wrecks. So I might change that to high. I'll keep it a medium. But yeah, I mean, his sponsor's going to do fine. Dawson Cram, if you look at the 41 machine, they can't afford to crash. I believe this team has one car that they've ran, or that he's ran, or that he's been in charge of this year. They've had mechanical issues and just failure to start properly. I mean, I think it's a good car. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a great truck, but they can't afford to wreck it. I have very low interest in Dawson Cram here because, one, I think he struggles. I mean, this truck has no time on a plate track. There's no practice. That really hurts teams that have never brought a truck to the racetrack in a situation like this. They might even have the wrong gear ratio in there. I mean, that's stuff that you would figure out easily in practice. Since you don't have practice, you figure that stuff out, and if you don't have, I tweeted last weekend that, I mean, things that are easily found in practice that can easily be fixed, with 2 laps of practice data, not even data, just going out and see what the car does in practice. I mean, that type of stuff you're finding out in the race, and that ends your race. I mean, it's something you can fix in practice. If something's wrong in the race, you're done. You're done. So I don't have a whole lot of belief in Dawson Cram doing well. Like I said, I mean, this guy can't afford to wreck his car. Josh Reaume, my interest is there. It's slow. And I mean, I don't have everything lined up. I just wanted to, answer things. I'm only going to play one lineup. I'm probably going to do that for the remainder of this year and the remainder of next year, since we only have practice for a few races. So I'm making one lineup. So even with like these low interest, I mean, I can only fit 6 guys into a lineup. But Josh Reaume, I think he finishes 20th, ceiling of 16th. I don't think he wrecks. I think he runs very well. He's going to be sponsored. I already know it. I can't imagine that. Let me just check something because I have him as a yes, but I forgot what he's sponsored by. Let me look right fast. Josh Reum, he's in the 33 car. Yeah, he's sponsored this weekend. I understand that if you look at Josh's, recent races, he's had issues, or it looks like a starting park, but it's not because they actually have problems in this 33 car. But I mean, this is the Reum brothers' best machine in terms of points racing right now. This is this car has ran every single race except I believe one, and that was Bristol when Reum was in it last time. And look, I don't mind Josh Reum at all. I think people are scared to play these guys. Jennifer Jo Cobb, look, I think she has mechanical failure or some. I don't like Jennifer Jo Cobb in the situation. There's better punt plays that should be lower owned than her. Yet again, I mean, Jennifer Jo Cobb at plate races, if you look, and this is just me going off of my memory, okay? But if you look at plate races, it's always, Jennifer Jo Cobb had a motor issue. Jennifer Jo Cobb, completed 70% of the race, but then, had something happen to her. I think she has a mechanical issue. So I have her as a 31st place finish. I mean, there's technically 39 cars in the entry list, should be 38 in the race. I imagine she finishes close to last, even though she does have her sponsor. Jason White, look, he's showing up. He is in this car to race. He is in this car to finish. There's not a whole lot of data on him. I mean, you could look at his ARCA races, you can look at stuff, but a lot of DFS players don't know him. I imagine a lot of people don't do the amount of research that a lot of the people do, that I do, and things that. So I really, really, really love Jason White. I have a lot of interest in him. I think he performs very well. I think he shows up. I think he races smart, and I think he can easily get a top 15 finish if this race goes through. Right now, no sponsorship, but why would you bring Jason White in if he's going to start in park? That makes no sense. You would just run like a normal guy. He's in the 00 for the Reum brothers. I mean, look, this is the car that was sponsored earlier in the year by Angela Ruck. This is the car that they probably put the most amount of money into earlier in the year. Like I said, I imagine he shows up to race. I didn't see a sponsorship for this thing yesterday, but that's on a Wednesday. I'm recording this on a Thursday once again, and we are dragging this puppy out, but we're gonna be all right. Corbin Foster, if you look at his track history, I mean, he grades out excellent. I have a lot of interest in him. I imagine the field does as well. I mean, he's in a DGR Crosley car. He's a safe play, good history at plate tracks. I mean, easily probably the best play outside the top 25 here in terms of what that car has, what that truck has, what that truck can do, and yada, yada, yada. Nally Decker, look, man, she's slow. She sucks at racing. I think she's so bad at racing on a plate track that she avoids wrecks. I think she's so off pace that she just stupidly avoids wrecks, all right? So I got a medium amount of interest there. Got her ranked as an 18th place finish. Ray Cicerelli, don't like him. I think he's starting parks. I think he gets into an accident. Something happens to him, man. I think Ray Cicerelli wrecks, destroys the machine. If there's one wreck in this race goes green other than the stage yellows, and there's one wreck, I'd put money on it as Ray Cicerelli. Jordan Anderson, look great out as a B. If you look at his track average, I'm just going back up there so you can see what this is. If you look at his track history, I mean, it's outstanding. Okay, it's outstanding. I think the ownership really goes to him, especially if people, not even if you're playing guys in the back, but if you're playing, the value plays, the safe plays. I mean, Robbie Lyons looks like that. Corbin Foster looks like that. Jordan Anderson looks like that. Spencer Boyd looks like that. And it's based on the track history, but I think there's a lot of ownership on these guys. Because of that, I would have low interest in there, but I think he finishes around 13th. He's had a poorer season so far, but if you look at how he did in Daytona early in the year, how he's done in the past, I mean, he's constantly not wrecking. He has great track history. As I put here, many cores are going to have him, and I think there's a low possibility that he DNFs. And, I mean, he's sponsored, and that's about the only thing I had to really focus on there. Trevor Bayne back in this baby. He's a Daytona 500 winner. I don't understand. I don't know if that's going to have any effect on how people perceive him, how they look at him. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I have low interest in him. And I mean, when I say low, I'm looking there. Like if these guys are listed here, it's because I'm looking at them. If they're blank, I'm probably not going to play them at all. I mean, like I said, I'm making one lineup. I got to find 6 guys, but there's a part of me that wants to look at Trevor Main. I think he finishes inside the top 20. I think he finishes 11th if it's a wreck fest, but I think there's a good chance that he's like, man, this could be my last plate track. I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. And he puts himself in a dangerous situation, or he just loses it because he hasn't been in a car in a long time. He hasn't been in a truck ever at a plate track. So we'll see how that goes. Spencer Boyd grading out as an A in my mind because this man has amazing track history. I mean, he could easily finish inside the top 10. I think he has a top 5 potential. I don't think he wrecks. I think he's very good. I think he's going to be chalky. He has great history. He's safe. And so he's a fade for me. I'm not going to play him. Not going to play him, man. Too many people are going to play this guy. They're going to see his track history. I mean, let's look at Spencer Boyd's track history at the plate tracks right fast. Let me bring this up here. Let's see, where are you at? Good old Spencer Boyd. Let's see, Daytona, earlier this year, 20th. Daytona in 2019, 4th. Dega, won the Dega race in 2019, finished 13th at Dega. I mean, this man grades out as an amazing play. And I guarantee people are going to be like, you got to play him in your core. I mean, he's a safe play, so look, I'm not playing him. I would advise you don't either, because I would much rather, especially on a plate track where anybody can wreck and anything can happen. I don't want to have any type of chalk at all, really. Other than like Robbie Lyons. Gus Dean. Look, I like Gus Dean. I've always played him at the plate tracks. I remember he was very good at the ARCA races here. I remember he's ran a lot of super speedway races. But look, I got 2 things going on here. One, I think Gus Dean, there's a good chance he wrecks. If you look at how he ran in the ARCA race, or in the ARCA races, he would always do well, or he'd be in an accident. He'd be in a highlight reel of wrecking. Not even flipping, just being involved in a wreck. If you look at his races in the truck series, I mean, he either does well or he's in a highlight reel. Now, he's driving for Timmy Hill in that 56 car. I can't imagine Timmy Hill's like, listen, man, I want you to go out and race. I assume Timmy was going to be like, look, just take care of the truck. Hopefully other people will wreck. Let's take advantage of other people's mistakes. And so I would imagine that Gus Dean races safer than normal. And I mean, he's a direct pivot off of Spencer Boyd with very similar upside here. Don't mind that at all. Clay Greenfield, look, man, the field needs to wreck for him to do well. He has Jesus Jeff Hammond being the crew chief there. I'm not too high on him. I think he gets involved in a wreck. Bailey Curry, good history. I imagine he'll probably be the farthest guy, or back of half the field to gain ownership. I got a little bit of interest in him. I think he finishes around 18th, but he does have a top 5 potential. He's in a good truck. That means people are going to play him. Danny Bone, I think he wrecks. Playing simple. Austin Wayne Self, record top 10. That's pretty much how he goes. Chase Purdy, not looking at him. I think he wrecks. I think he has a very good chance of wrecking. Derek Kraus. This would probably be, the guy around midfield that people are going to play or look to play. He knows what he's doing. I know he only has 1 race, but look, I mean, this kid knows what he's doing. Tate Fogelman, no, not interested in. Rafael Assard, I think he wrecks. Just playing simple. Johnny Sauter, his track history here, he's Jesus, he's God. I mean, he's second to Dale Earnhardt, Not really, but you know what I mean. If he can get past his crappy luck this year, I mean, let's look at his finishes at Daytona and Talladega. 7th, 23rd, 1st, 15th, 14th, 22nd, 12th, 7th, 7th, and 31st. I mean, that's about as safe and dominant as you can get here. I imagine people are going to play him based on track history as well. I don't know if it's going to be as heavy as, say, like a Spencer Boyd or Jordan Anderson because he's had such bad luck. And I mean, I'm tired. Johnny Sauter is a perfect example. These are issues that can be found in practice that they don't have a chance to find. He's been screwed over because of just, bad mechanical failures here. Stuart Friesen wrecks or top 10. I think he wrecks. That's why I have him as projected as a 22nd. Tanner Green, not really interested. Don't want to mess around with him. Ben Rhodes and Todd Gilliland, those are probably about the highest I'd go other than Matt Crafton, just because Matt Crafton has that track history here. But I'm not interested in Tyler Ankrum, not interested in Brett Moffitt. Sheldon Creed, no. Austin Hill, if you look at his track history here, if people think that this is not going to be a wreck fest. Seeing his finishes of a 6th, 1st, 11th, 6th, 10th, and 22nd, I imagine people are going to be like, oh, this race could be green. It could be we might need a dominator. I would imagine people go to Austin Hill to be that dominator. So in those types of lineups, I would imagine that Austin Hill is very popular in a sense of, oh, this race is not going to be a wreck fest. So that's how I imagine that people would play Austin Hill. But look, looking at, plate races in general, especially in a DFS standpoint, it's much... Granted, they can go green the whole way, but it's a safer... I would much rather be on the bandwagon of playing guys that survive wrecks and expecting a wreck fest than expecting the race to go green and then one wreck taking out everybody. I think that's a safer approach, and that's done a lot better for me than when I used to do a lot of lineups and, build them accordingly to, what if this race goes green or whatnot. The risk involved, if you play a lineup built with guys in the back, one, you need a wreck-filled race, or you need accidents to take out other guys. Otherwise, this lineup does not do well at all. But even in a Truck Series race, the possibility of having a wreck and helping that lineup out, I think that's I think that's safer than building a lineup with guys that need to do well and keep their positions and not be involved in accidents over a super speedway race. I think that's riskier than building guys from the back. The way that I see this race going is probably not a full wreck fest, probably a 3-3, maybe a 4-2, not a full stack from the back type of weekend. But I think that's how I would look at it. I got a Patreon in the description if you guys would like to donate, which would be a great indicator if you guys like this. Let me know if you guys like this type of video. If you don't like it, what you want, give me some feedback. I need to know if I want to keep doing this, if I don't want to keep doing this. So please let me know. And as you can see, I got my thing on, so I'll be recording this, the Xfinity video, and then DFS Tavern video today, and calling it quits for the weekend, so I can be done and relax and watch some football on Thursday night. Anyway, we'll talk next time. See you in the Xfinity video, and peace out, yo.